so
yeah.
we're gonna have to wait for a minute here.
Is it done? I think.
Nope. 7.
Darn! Guys, I am so excited for today's video because, well, for one, you probably already know because of the title, the thumbnail, and the shirt that I'm wearing, but it is 1 year since I graduated college. And I feel like people don't really talk about the transition. Like, people talk about the transition between high school and college all the time, but they don't really talk about the transition between like college and like being a big girl, you know? With that, I thought it would be really cool to take you guys on a little bit of a tour and just kind of like reminisce my old college, what do they call it? Like, not your, it's not alumni. What's the word I'm thinking about? Alamo. I keep wanting to call it Alamo. I don't even know. But anyway, I thought I would go ahead and walk you through some landmarks that honestly just mean a lot to me on this campus. Maybe where I lived for a few years, where I would always go and eat lunch, whatnot. I thought I'd walk you through that, and then I wanted to share with you a couple things that I have learned. So basically, I thought the best place to start off my little college tour would be with North Hall behind me. Basically, I lived and breathed in this building. Like, I actually lived here for 2 years, my freshman and my sophomore year, but then I also worked here too. So I spent a lot of time in this building. So my freshman year, I roomed with my best friend from high school. And then my sophomore year, I also roomed with her, which was really nice, in the exact same room, which is like unheard of, but that was pretty cool. But then she got engaged my sophomore year. So I basically got a 2-person room, but like, for one. For my jobs, I was in this building, so I had like a lot of jobs in college. I feel like I was just like overly involved, but I was in this building because I was a tour guide, so this video is like very convenient, but I was also an orientation ambassador, and here is where I had a grilled cheese almost every single day. This is where I had all of my marketing classes, and I learned my love for social media. So here is where all the magic happened. So this is the hall that I fell in love with communications and just my major in general. So this was actually the room where I had my social media class. It just, I mean, it's a boring old room. It's nothing too special, but I fell in love with social media in that room right there. So shout out to you, Dr. Stroller. And here is the lecture hall, which every single time I had my class, I would always sneak in my coffee. And here is where I rented camera equipment before I even had a camera for my YouTube channel. I'm trying to think what I had in this room. I don't even know what I had in this room, to be honest, but I know I was in there a lot. Oh, this was the lab where we would wait until the very last minute to print things, and then the printer never worked, and so we were all in this like frantic like state thinking that we were gonna get zeros for our papers. But we always ended up figuring something out. Noah, who's behind the camera, you might actually not know this, but this coffee shop up here has like a walk-through to-go window. So in between classes, I would always, I would just like hit up the to-go window because it was, no one wanted to wait out in the cold, so you never had to wait in line. So it's like a drive-through, but for like walking. Exactly. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time there. This is actually kind of cool. So I texted my grandma and I said, hey, are you working? Because she works here, which is, so this is the Boozle Dining Hall. So it's like the main dining hall on campus. But what people didn't know is that my grandma was the omelet lady. And well, people would call her the omelet lady. And so she would make omelets on the weekends, and she was like super famous on campus. But yeah, so I just texted her. I said, are you working? And she said, yeah. So we're gonna go and try to see if we can say hi to her. There's a lot of gnats here. I don't know if you guys will be able to pick up on it. Probably not. It's a lot. So we're filming a video. So this is Noah. Hi. I'm so happy I actually got to see my grandma, which was pretty cool. And Noah got to meet her too. That was the first time you've ever met her. I feel like I've met. Do you have multiple grandmas? Because I feel like I've met one of them. No, it had to have been her. No! I'm so sad. The Starbucks is closed. Is it? Is it closed? Oh.
He doesn't
I
want the
am
outlets.
so annoyed. Now onto the driving tour. I'm gonna blur the name of the place because I'm not mean, but I do want to take you guys to the worst living situation I have ever been in. It was horrible. I hated it. This apartment complex is horrible and extremely unethical, and I just had a really bad experience here. We're gonna drive in, and Noah can show some clips, but like if there's like a logo, I'm obviously gonna blur it out. This place, oh my gosh. So we're gonna zoom in on my exact apartment. Okay, so okay, Noah.
Yeah, right in there.
Okay, so it's second floor, middle window.
I really didn't remember being there.
Yeah, so that was where my room was at, and it was so bad, guys. So basically, I was having issues with my roommates because I lived with, if you guys want like a whole video about this, I can actually give you an entire video about this. But basically I was living with sisters. So if you made one sister mad, they both would gang up on you. But then when the one sister would vent to me about the other sister, if I would say anything, she would go back to the other sister and tell her what I said. And I was like, this is horrible. And then the people above us would party until like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But then the people below me would start blaring their music at like 6 a.m. And so I wasn't getting any sleep. And then the apartment complex wasn't doing anything about the sleep, like we have quiet hours, and they weren't reinforcing it. So then they started just telling me to call security. So then I was. But then they found out that I called security, and so then they started coming down and like knocking on our door and like attacking us on social media, and it was so horrible. And then they found out what car I had, so then they started like doing stuff to my car. It was a horrible situation, and it went on for months. But yeah, so good times. Okay, here we go. Well, this is the part of the video where I just wanted to sit down with you and talk to you just about everything I've sort of learned since I graduated, which is crazy that it's been a year. Okay, future Courtney here. I was editing this video and I realized that for the next like minute and a half, I'm out of focus. So just try to bear with me here. And I specifically filmed this video on a different day than the day that I gave you the tour because honestly, well, one, I got locked out of the building. Apparently they automatically lock at 9. But the other reason is I just kind of wanted to think and just have a day or two to process and to really just like make sure I touched on everything that I've learned. And I didn't want to do like the boring like finances. Well, no duh. Like you're gonna learn finances, you're gonna learn things like that. But these are just like deeper things that I think that I've learned. So basically I graduated, obviously. I graduated as a integrated marketing communication major, and then I specialized in social media. So I loved my major because it kind of focused on 5 different aspects. It was marketing, communications, public relations, graphic design, and social media. So I was like a well-rounded machine. I literally loved my major. The first thing, just hopping right into it, that I learned was don't limit yourself just because of your major. So luckily I had a very well-versed major, but I know other people that didn't. They might have just been a marketing major. Well, just because you're a marketing major doesn't mean you can't go into communications, or just because you're a marketing major doesn't mean that you can't go into, I don't know, if you have skills in graphic design, like do that. One of my friends, she was a public relations major, but now she's working as a leasing agent or like a leasing consultant. Like don't limit yourself just because of your major. The second thing I learned, by the way, the sun is setting, so I don't know how much natural sunlight I'm going to have. I might have to switch on to like a ring light pretty soon, but I have been told over and over and over again that I am entry level, and people have drilled it into my head, and I get it. I was entry level. I had just graduated, but that does not mean that I have no experience. I was basically working for the company that I worked for after college for an entire year before I even got hired on full time. So it's like, yes, I'm entry level, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I have no experience. And it is so important for you to realize your skills and your value. And it's okay to leave a job that might not see your value, or might not see how much you're worth, or they might not realize until you're gone how much you actually did for the company. So I just want to like let you know, like I feel like people think like, oh, if I get a job, I have to be there for a year. No, I left my job. So I worked for a company. I was very lucky. I worked with awesome people. I went into the fast fashion retailer. It's a big company that a lot of people know, and so I interned for them for a while. Then I kind of worked like part-time throughout the school year, and then I got hired on full-time, and I ended up leaving just shy of a year. I still love the job. I have nothing negative to say about it. But it's just one of those things where do not think that you have to be at a job for a year. If you don't like something about the job, or they're not appreciating you, or whatever it may be, whatever your reason is for leaving, do not think you have to stay, because you don't. The fourth thing that I learned is you will never regret being overly involved on campus. If I could go back in time and thank my younger self, I would, because I was doing so much on campus, but I built an amazing resume, which helped me get my first job. And then once you get your first job, it's so much easier for you to get your second job. And then that's just more experience underneath your belt. So yeah, you might be entry level, but you have all this experience underneath your belt and you haven't even had your first job yet. Okay, so you have your job, right? And let's just say that you love your job, or maybe you hate your job. I don't even know. The first job you are at will not be your forever job. Just remember that. But find a mentor, someone who does have a lot more experience than you. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's someone in a completely different department, someone to look up to, someone to aspire to be, someone to go to if you're ever having any problems at work. My first job I had probably like 3 mentors, and I think only one of them actually knew that they were like a mentor to me. 2 of them are just people that I really looked up to, and I'd go and I'd ask them questions, or I would ask them about, like, actually they were some of the first people that I went to whenever I knew that I had to quit my job. I went to them and I was just like, what do you think? Because I knew they were gonna give me honest answers. I knew that they were trustworthy. I knew that they weren't gonna go and tell my boss that I was quitting. And it's so important to have those people. And just also, I mean, that's someone to strive to be like. That's someone who's gonna make you wanna work harder. So like, find a mentor. The next tip that I have for you is to find a job, if you can, that has a lot of PTO, which means paid time off. Because I'm telling you, the transition between college and being a big girl, it's not that it's hard, but it's very different. Because at college, if you didn't want to go to class, you really didn't have to go to class, or you'd figure something out, or you'd go and get a doctor's excuse, whatever it is. But like at work, you have to go to work. You don't really get a say. You can't just be like, you know what, I was up really late last night. I just don't want to come in. Yeah, you can't do that. So try to find a job that has as much paid time off as you can. My job had 17 days paid time off, so it was really nice. And don't feel guilty about using your PTO. I felt so bad at the beginning using my paid time off because, I mean, I worked in food. So I worked at Eaton Park, I worked at Subway, and then I also worked at American Eagle for a little bit, and it was so frowned upon to take a day off. Whenever you requested days off, like it looked bad, and people didn't like it, and you kind of got dirty looks, and maybe your boss got mad at you. So I was really nervous to take my paid time off. So like I said, I got 17 days. I was so nervous that for the first like 5 or 6 months, I didn't use my paid time off because I just was like, oh, I don't want to look bad. I want my bosses to think that I'm great. But no, that is your time. You earned that time. Take it. I feel like there's such a stigma around graduating college and moving home. Like, I feel like people think that that is frowned upon, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very envious of the people who had that opportunity to move home. Right after college, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move in with my best friend, I'm going to get this beautiful apartment, I'm gonna, work my 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and now I kind of regret it. Like, I love my apartment, it's beautiful, it's a 10-minute drive to work, but at the same time, I mean, that's almost like $900 that I could be saving if I just would have lived at home. So don't think that just because you're living at home that you're behind. I actually envy you. I think it's really awesome that you're actually able to save money, especially if you have student loans. Like, save your money. Never burn bridges. Like I said before, like, if you don't want to stay at a job, like, that's cool, leave, but do not burn a bridge with your boss, with your friends, with your coworkers. Do not. I promise you, some point in your life, you will see them again, and it is going to be awkward. And you know what? At some point, that person that you might have burned the bridge with, even if, let's say they worked in a whole nother department, they could be your boss one day, and you do not want that. You don't want to not get a job because, let's say, I'm just gonna make up things. Let's say I worked at FedEx, right? And I hated my boss, and one day I just went in and I was like, bye, I don't like you. And then I just walked out, right? Well, what if one day I wanna go work for like Chick-fil-A corporate, and next thing I know, that person works there. And I didn't get that job because 10 years ago, I burned a bridge with this one person. Like, it is so possible. When you leave with grace, leave with like dignity, leave with writing thank you cards to people. Like, let them know how grateful you were to work there. But at the same point, you're just like, you know, my time is up here. I really appreciate everything that you did. But just really make sure that you're not burning any bridges and you don't leave on bad terms. Another thing that I learned since I graduated is that time flies. Time goes so fast. It is so crazy that it has been 1 year since I graduated, and then you think about all these people. Like, I even think about like past friendships that I had or past relationships that I have, and then you just are like, oh my gosh, that was 3 years ago. And time just starts to fly and fly and fly. Actually, it's getting really dark, so hold on. Let me turn on a light. That is not the light that I needed. Oh gosh, this is not gonna be good. Okay, lighting is gonna suck, and I'm sorry, but if you could just deal with it, I would really appreciate it. Oh, I hate that lighting. Okay, lighting still sucks, but we're just gonna work with it. But then you also learn how precious life is and how precious time is. You know, you kind of get into this mindset, or at least for me, I've been going through a quarter-life crisis since I was like 15. I am constantly in this thought process that I'm behind in life and that I'm not successful, and I don't know, I have this mindset. And so for me, time is so precious. So I don't like to waste time, and it's kind of a bad thing. It's almost like an obsession with saving time. I try to do everything as like time efficient as I possibly can. I'm crazy when it comes to time management, you know, and I do all this stuff because I'm like, oh, time is so precious. And so I won't, you know, there's times where I've said no to hanging out with friends because I'm like, yeah, but if you really think about it, and then I like do the math, and I'm like, it's an hour and a half to drive. I'll probably only be there for an hour. I might get stuck in traffic for 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes of finding parking, and then an hour and a half drive home. That's, you know, I don't think I did the math right, but I'm like, that's 3.5 hours that I could be doing something else. And that's a thought process that's constantly in my head. I feel like my thought process around time is very, probably unhealthy, but it really, you start to pick up on the fact that life is short. Okay, I think we're at like maybe the 11th, maybe the 12th like thing that I've learned. I don't even know, I've lost count at this point. But another thing that I learned was, you know, in college you really had to balance your time. But so do you whenever you are outside of college. Because, you know, now you're working a 9 to 5, right? Well, you think that you'll have, and I feel like people sometimes think that they have so much time because they're like, oh, it's a 9 to 5. You know, you go to work and then you come home and you can do whatever you want. But not really, because let's say you have an hour commute. So that's you waking up at 7, leaving by 8, getting to work at 9, staying there until 5, coming home at 6, but then you're also getting stuck in traffic, so maybe even 6:30. By the time you get home and you eat, it's probably like what? 7:30, you watch a couple episodes on TV, and then you go straight to bed. So if you have any hobbies, which that's another thing that I recommend, one thing I learned is that if you don't have a hobby or something you're doing other than work, luckily I have YouTube. Wow, the lighting sucks and I hate this. But another thing is, like, if you don't, you know, have some sort of a hobby, you're gonna go crazy. But you just really need to figure out time management and really figuring out, like, okay, you know, yes, I do go to work, but then at the same time, like, I have YouTube. So now I need to start to like schedule YouTube into my schedule basically, and just trying to figure out like, okay, when do I have time for YouTube? When do I have time for friends? Which brings me to my next point. You need to be a lot more intentional with your friendships outside of college. You know, in college, it's almost like, it's kind of similar to high school, where in high school, you're friends with people because you're around them. So maybe you were in a sorority with people, or maybe it was your roommates, or maybe it was people that lived in the same building as you. Well, now, they could be in other states, they could be in other cities, maybe they're on the other side of the city. So now you need to really go out of your way to keep those friendships. So that's a whole nother thing that I've learned. If you want to be friends with someone, you really need to try. My friends don't even live that far, but like I don't even get to see them that often. So my best friend Jess, I get to see her maybe once or twice a month. Or wait, no. I get to see her one time every 1 to 2 months is what I meant to say. And then my friend Nicole, I see her maybe like twice a month. Okay, so it is getting really dark, so I just want to finish this off by one last piece of advice. Wow, it is so dark. Oh, I hate this because usually I'm like so stubborn with my editing. I just want it to be perfect. I want the lighting to be great, and now like I'm looking in the viewfinder and this is terrible. The last piece of advice that I want to leave you with is just, you are not falling behind. I feel like, you know, now that I've been graduated for a year, everyone is at a different stage in life. I have friends that are popping out babies. I have friends that are getting married. Heck, my roommate, she's engaged right now and she's getting married in September. So, and I'm her maid of honor, like what? So it's like everyone is at a different point. And just because, you know, I'm not popping out a baby does not mean I'm behind in life. Just because I am single does not mean I'm behind in life. Just because, you know, whatever it may be, I am not behind and neither are you. I feel like social media just creates this illusion that we are so behind in life, and I also think that that's why I kind of have this weird, irrational fear of time, because I look and I see Jake Paul and I see all of these like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, you know, being so successful, and I'm over here 22 and I'm like, what am I doing with my life right now? You are exactly where you need to be right now. And if you want to speed up the process and you want to advance, or maybe you're in a job and you're just like, I'm ready for the next step, I'm ready for, you know, a promotion, or I'm ready for whatever it is, take the next step. But I just want you to know that you're not behind and you're exactly where you need to be. I saw that randomly whenever I was on Instagram one day, is someone was like, you are exactly where you need to be right now. And it was just like, it was like perfect, it was like fate. That's exactly what I needed to hear in the moment, and hopefully maybe that's exactly what you need to hear right now. So that is everything that I learned. I am gonna go to a little bit of a better lit area just to do the outro. All right, so I'm gonna do the outro right here because the lighting is so bad. This is like the worst video ever. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like I said, the lighting hasn't been the best, but at least, you know, we're gonna power through it. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button down below, that would be so cool. Also, join our little like hashtag notification squad that we got going on, and leave a comment down below letting me know what grade you're in. Are you in high school? Are you in college? Or have you graduated college? And if you've graduated, let me know how long you've been graduated. Has it been 1 year, 2 years, 10, 20? I don't even know, but leave it down below, and I will see you guys in a couple days. Bye.